If you just joined an HOA or condo board, or you're about to, what you do in the next few weeks sets the tone for your entire time on the board. Get it right and the job runs smoothly. Hopefully, that's obviously the goal. Get it wrong and you could spend the next 3 years of your life cleaning up messes. Here's what we're going to cover today. Number 1, the top 5 core responsibilities that you as a board has. Number 2, the self-management decision most boards get wrong. Number 3, how the right systems cuts your workload dramatically. And number 4, the 6 mistakes that quietly wreck communities over time. My name is Joe Braun and I am the founder of Solium, but more about that in a little bit. Stick around to the end because the second mistake in the last section destroys communities' trust faster than anything else that I see, and almost nobody warns you about it. All right, first up, the 5 core responsibilities every new board member must own from day 1. Let's start with what you actually signed up for, because most new board members really have a fuzzy idea of the job. And that's because there's no one size fits all for all communities or some manual that fits and applies to everyone. There are 5 responsibilities that are yours the moment you're seated. Number 1, fiduciary duty. In plain English, you are legally required to act in the community's financial interest, not yours, not your best friends, the community's. Here's what that actually looks like. You can't vote against a dues increase just because money is tight for you personally. If the community needs it to cover what's coming, you vote for the community, not your wallet. You can't vote down a special assessment because you're moving in 2 years and you won't be around to enjoy what it pays for. And you can't refuse to raise the budget just because you don't want to be the bad guy at the neighborhood barbecue. Your feelings aren't the client, the community is. Number 2, consistent enforcement. You enforce the rules the same way for everyone, always. Legal challenges live here more than you'd think, or certainly would like to admit. That means you can't look the other way on your best friend's garden gnomes just because she's your best friend. And you can't go after one homeowner because her daughter beat yours in a tennis match 3 years ago. The second enforcement gets personal, friends get a pass and enemies get targeted, you've handed a lawyer everything they need to pursue a case. Number 3, financial oversight. This is different slightly from fiduciary duty, but people mix them up frequently. Fiduciary duty is about whose side you're on. Financial oversight is about actually doing the work of watching the money and making sure that it is allocated to where it needs to go. It means reading the financials, not just nodding at them, making sure that the reserve contribution actually hits the account, catching the vendor who got paid twice, knowing what's in your budget and whether the numbers are even correct. Nobody is checking the board's work, so the board has to check its own. Yes, sometimes this is a dedicated responsibility of the treasurer, but the board as a whole still has the burden of oversight. Number 4, maintenance and vendors. There's 2 parts. Both of them matter. Think of it as 2 parts to the same coin. First is just the physical stuff. That's the roofs, the roads, the pool, the landscaping. It doesn't just need to get done, it needs to be a priority in the budget. The community is responsible for taking care of those. And if the budget doesn't cover what the community actually needs and is responsible for, your job is to figure out how to fund it. Even if that means increasing the budget, ignoring it isn't saving money. It's scheduling a bigger bill for later. I've talked about deferred maintenance a lot in other videos, but think of it as this. It is almost always never cheaper to wait until a better time or a later time. It's almost always more expensive. Second, and this is the other side to that same coin. Second, there's no sweetheart deals. You don't hand the landscaping contract to your brother or your college buddy because you happen to know them. You put the work out to bid and you pick the best fit for the community every time. Don't play around with that. Number 5, communication. And I don't mean the buzzword that everyone throws around. I mean actually keeping people in the loop. Give homeowners a heads up before things happen, not after. Make it a two-way conversation. You're not a government issuing announcements, you're neighbors talking to neighbors. And understand this, when you keep important information out of sight, people don't assume the best. In fact, they assume the worst. Silence doesn't read as privacy, it reads as, what are they hiding from us, right? An empty space gets filled with suspicion every single time. Listen, most new boards can identify 2 or 3 of those things. The ones they forget are usually, unfortunately, the exact ones that come back to bite them. So keep those 5 responsibilities top of the mind. By the way, and these are not the only responsibilities that boards have, they're just the ones that are like the big buckets that you need to keep your eye on. But knowing your responsibilities is only half the picture. How your board is set up changes everything about how you actually pull them off. All right, so let's talk about self-managed versus professionally managed HOAs and what new boards need to know before they decide. Here's something that a lot of boards believe that just isn't true, that you have to hire a property management company, that it's somehow required, that it's simply how this is done. It's not. In almost every single case, it's not a legal requirement. It's not written into your bylaws. It's a default that nobody stopped to question. It's sort of just how it's always been done. And that default is not your only option. So make the choice on purpose. Do you manage the community yourself or do you hire a professional company? A management company is hired to handle the day-to-day, vendors, communication, the books, but it costs you, usually somewhere between 10 to 20% of your annual budget. But it puts a layer between your board and the homeowners. But, and here's the part that people miss, it doesn't take you off the hook. You're still legally responsible for everything they do. Self-managed means you keep the control and you keep the money. But all of the administrative work lands on volunteers, on you. The real question isn't which one is better, because depending on the situation, one could be better than the other. It's whether your board has the tools to support the choice you're making. A self-managed board running on email threads or group texts and paper files is in trouble. A self-managed board with the right platform behind it is a completely different story, and it's absolutely acceptable, and it's preferred by some communities. But that gap is bigger than most boards realize. Let me tell you the real reason volunteer board members burn out. It's not the weight of the responsibility. It's typically because there's no system around them to support it, right? When everything lives in spreadsheets or text threads and someone's memory, simple things turn into chaos. You're chasing dues by hand, you're digging through old text threads, trying to find what a vendor actually promised, trying to remember what the board decided 3 meetings ago. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and honestly, boards come out a few years with a mild form of PTSD over things that should have just been a simple process. And here's the backdrop to all of it. The property management industry, frankly, is in a tailspin. Service is going down, prices keep climbing, and a lot of these companies are churning through new hires just to keep the doors open, which means the managing person or the person managing your community, they can change every few years, maybe at best a year, right? Meanwhile, technology and AI are finally showing up in these spaces. For years, the only real software out there was built for giant management companies, big clunky legacy systems that practically needed full-time tech support just to run. Nothing was built for single self-managed communities, but that's changed. And Solium is at the epicenter of bringing tools and human support to establish systems for self-managed communities. Here's what the right platform actually does. Dues collected automatically, late payments tracked without you ever thinking about it, every document in one place with the right people able to see it, violation notices that follow the same steps every time so nobody has to remember what the process is. and financials that any board member can actually read, not needing an accounting degree or becoming a CPA. We built Solium for self-managed communities on purpose because we watched a lot of volunteer boards try to run at the scale of a professional management company with none of the infrastructure. The tools are not a luxury. When you're managing people's real money and their actual community, they're the baseline. You need these tools. You have to have the right systems and tools or you'll run yourself into the ground. But even the best software can't save a board that is stuck in bad habits. So let's talk about those. This is the section that every board wishes someone had shown them on day one. 6 mistakes, and you'll notice something. A few of them are just the core responsibilities we already covered done badly or skipped entirely. It's negligence or nefarious intent. Number 1, enforcing the rules unevenly. We touched on this just a moment ago, but it's the number 1 lawsuit trigger for a reason. Crack down on one house while 3 others do the same thing untouched, and you've lost in court and lost the community's trust, not to mention their money in a single move. Consistency isn't optional. It's your legal armor. You have to be consistent in your rule enforcement. Number 2, underfunding reserves. This is the one I mentioned that this one will kill your community faster than anything else. You'd be surprised at the number of boards that I've talked to that don't see what a problem this is. This isn't just financial oversight done wrong. Let's just say that you keep dues low, you skip the reserve planning, everyone's happy right up into the time that the retaining wall collapses and there's a $400,000 special assessment with everyone's name on it. That money was always going to be needed. Underfunding doesn't avoid the cost. It's sort of like ignoring the medical report and burying your head in the sand, hoping that the problem goes away, but not taking any of the precautions to correct it. Number 3, messy or misleading books. And I don't mean stealing, right? That's obviously a problem. And maybe it's not that obvious to you, but it should be. Don't steal. It's mean and it's stupid. I'm talking about books that no one can actually read. Real expenses buried inside of one giant vague category. Costs coded to the wrong line so that the budget looks fine when it isn't. Maybe you think that this is a gray area and maybe it's not dishonest in your mind, but it's still a problem because when a homeowner can't follow the money or the numbers don't hold up to scrutiny or somebody starts looking at it closely, you've got a credibility problem that you never needed. Clean, clear books protect the board as much as they protect the community. Number 4, backdoor decisions. This one trips up new boards quite a bit, so let me make it clear. You can't make real decisions in private. What I mean is a few board members texting or settling something over coffee and expect it to hold, right? Your bylaws in a lot of places, state law, require decisions to be made in a properly run meeting and written into the minutes. If it wasn't decided in the open and documented, it may not count, and any homeowner can challenge it or get it reversed. And in a lot of cases, it has to be on the agenda and notice made to the homeowners before you can even vote on it. I've got whole other videos on this topic that go a lot deeper into this, but the short version is this. Decisions made in the shadows don't survive daylight. You can't just make a decision and hope that nobody notices and pass it through. That legally cannot happen, and any homeowner can challenge it. Number 5, winging it with vendors. I'm talking about no contracts, no accountability, no leverage when the work goes sideways or isn't completed. And I'll say what nobody else wants to say out loud. You can't take kickbacks, and you cannot hand work to family and friends just because it's easy. The moment a vendor is getting paid for who they know instead of what they deliver, the community loses and you're exposed. Send work to bid and choose based on what is best for the community, not for you personally or for your relationships. Certainly, if you have a college buddy or a family member that's in the business, they can bid on it, but it can't just be handed to them just because they know who you are. Number 6, leaving the new members to sink or swim. That's the new board members. Nobody trains them, nobody mentors them. So every new board relearns the same lessons by making the same mistakes the last board made. Sound familiar? It's the mistake that keeps all others on repeat. It's sort of like the expression that they are repeating the sins of the forefathers. But there's a deeper problem underneath all of that, and it's one that will slowly kill communities. When a board member rolls off, everything they knew tends to leave with them. Why the community switched landscapers 2 years ago, what the pool vendor promised in writing, how the ugly fence dispute actually got resolved. If all of that lived in one person's inbox, or worse, in their head, it's gone the day they step down. So the new member doesn't step into a role, they step into a fog, into a vortex, and they spend half of their term just piecing together what should have taken a couple of sessions to hand off. That's exactly why your community needs a system that holds onto its own memory, not a person's memory, the community's. When your decisions and your documents and your vendor history and your reasoning all live in one place, a new board member steps in and picks up right where the last one left off. The institutional knowledge stays with the community where it belongs, not in a shoebox of emails that disappears the moment someone moves away. That's the difference between a board that starts over every couple of years and one that actually builds on itself. By the way, if you want to learn how Solium helps communities establish systems to stop this kind of beating your head against the wall cycle, reach out to us on our website. I'll drop a link in the description. So, do you see the pattern here? Almost none of this comes from bad people. It comes from missing systems. Put the right platform in place and the right habits in place, and most of these things never get a chance to start. And that's the position you want, not cleaning up damage, you want to be preventing it. Let's pull this all together. Here are the 3 things that you need to walk away with. Number 1, your 5 responsibilities aren't suggestions, they're legal obligations. Know all 5, not just the easy ones. Again, obviously there's more than 5 responsibilities, but those are the core 5 that you need to pay attention to. Number 2, don't be a victim of bad management. Either choose a good manager or choose to self-manage. Make the choice on purpose and make sure your tools match your choice. I've got a whole series of videos talking about how to vet a property management company before you hire them. Number 3, the 6 mistakes that sink boards are all system failures, and every one of them is preventable before it ever starts. Now, let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. If a homeowner were to ask you tomorrow to show the documentation behind every decision your board has made, could you do it? Most boards, when they actually sit and think about that, they know the answer pretty quickly. And if the answer tells you something needs to change, would it be crazy to spend 15 minutes seeing what that change could actually look like for your community? If that doesn't sound crazy to you, there's a link in the description to book a call with our team. No pitch, I promise, no pitch, just an honest conversation about where your board stands and whether or not Solium can help. 15 minutes to see if our platform and our systems can help you. Drop a comment too. What's the one part of running your community or running your board that feels most out of control right now? Listen, I read every single comment, and a lot of the videos that I create are based on those comments. And if you want to go deeper, watch this next video. Like and subscribe if you want more of this type of content. We put out content every week or so for volunteer boards who are serious about doing this right. All right, see you in the next video.